Yo, other people like me, I'm out here. Like, please find me. Like, here's my contribution to you. What's up? I'm Empathetic Chicken, and this is gonna be another story kind of video where I talk about some of my history and just give a little backstory of who I am and everything. So in my last video like this, I was talking about art and how it was really important for me because of how I grew up, and just how once I went into art school, it helped me to kind of like form an identity for myself and learn to communicate more. I guess if you haven't seen the other video, it'd probably be a good idea to watch that just so you know kind of more about what I'm talking about. So art school kind of gave me like a purpose because I was able to share my art with people. I felt like I found some kind of place that I belonged. But then, graduation came and it kind of like all fell apart because, naturally I couldn't stay in school. So I had to graduate, and it just, because that's all I had known, I just kind of, it felt like my sense of security was gone, because that had been like my coping mechanism for dealing with like my trauma and stuff. It's what made me feel like I had a purpose in the world, and I don't know, I didn't really have like the knowledge and the life skills to like figure out what was next after school. Like, I just felt kind of cheated because everything was fine while I was in school, because it was like everybody was supportive, like I could make art all day, like that was basically my job. I wasn't getting paid other than like financial aid, but that was going towards school and all that. Yeah, I don't know, so I was just happiest when I was making art because I could express myself, and I just felt like I was making something meaningful, and it was a way for me to connect with other people because I'd never done that before. So once I graduated, that was probably in like 2015, I just kind of realized that the way I had been going about life couldn't really continue. Like, I didn't have time to work on art anymore because I had to work and everything. And I didn't know how to find a creative job. Like, there just didn't seem to be a lot of options where I was living. I'm still living here, and I still feel like there aren't a lot of options. But at that time, I was in like a different mindset than I am now. It felt really bleak back then. I didn't feel prepared for the real world. But luckily, I had a job as a janitor, and my teacher that I mentioned in my other video, she had helped me get that because her husband worked at like a plastic factory as a manager, so they hired me as a janitor. So that was like, I was grateful for the job because, let's face it, I didn't really have skills to like get hired anywhere else. So I was grateful, but like at the same time, if you've ever been a janitor, I'm sure everybody that's been a janitor has been through this period of just feeling like undervalued and just annoyed that they have to clean up other people's messes. And like at that time, I just was really hard on myself. I still am, but I don't know, I've come like a long way since then. And so like just the thought of me having to like, this sounds like I'm like way above, like I'm above cleaning up messes. But it's not like that. It was just like, I had gone to school, and like school would convince me like, oh yeah, you're gonna make it as an artist. Like, I just feel like college is kind of like a scam sometimes because you're not always guaranteed a job. I don't know. I just felt like I should have been, like, I wanted to work as an artist, like in some form, but I didn't feel like I knew how to find work in that area. And so I just didn't want to be a janitor, and it felt like a shot at what I had worked so hard for, like, and it kind of like crushed my hopes a little bit. I don't think having a degree makes you like any better or worse than anybody else. Like, we all do what we gotta do. We on different paths. So I'm not trying to like diss anybody who doesn't have a degree or who does and doesn't do what they went to school for, or anybody who's working as a janitor, because like, I respect you. Like, I know what it's like to scrub toilets. So yeah, all that to say, like, art was my coping mechanism for life, and then once I graduated, it felt like that couldn't go on. Like, I couldn't sustain that because I needed money and I needed a job, and I just couldn't seem to find a way to make art be that source of income. So I felt like I was kind of forced to hold a miserable job just to make ends meet. So I was just in a very like spiteful place back then. Like another issue that I was having is I was just like burnt out. Because after like 4 years of solely like focusing on art, it was like a lot. Like it was draining. I mean, it was healing and it was special and necessary. But at the same time, the way that you're forced to work, or at least in my program, you're just constantly like making an assignment and just like fulfilling these like requirements, and it just gets like really draining when you're not doing art just for you. I mean, technically I was always doing art for me, but I don't know, when you have like an assignment criteria to meet, it kind of just sucks a little bit of the fun out of it. I'll say that. So at the end, I was just really going through like creative burnout, and I didn't really have any more ideas, and that was just an added part of everything, just feeling like I wanted to be an artist, but I felt like I wasn't an artist at the same time because I just didn't have any ideas or inspiration. I just didn't feel happy at that time, and that really affected my ability to create. So all those feelings kind of just like, it felt like reinforcement to me that I was just like a failed artist and I just wasn't gonna make it in life. And I don't know, it was a really low point for me. Yeah, so somewhere within that time period, I had started going to therapy because there was this therapy program at the university that I went to, and it was student ran, so it was like free if you couldn't pay. So I didn't have health insurance or any of that. Like, I don't think we've ever had it. I don't know anything about it, I'll just put it that way. So I wouldn't have gone if I didn't know that they were like free, because I was in an art history class one time and they came and did outreach and it explained what they were and everything. So that's the reason that I tried to go there, because I just heard that it was free, and I had never tried therapy before, so I was like, I gotta do something. I'm like really miserable right now, and my art is just kind of like not helping because I'm not able to do it anymore. Like I just felt like I needed some way to cope with life, and my old methods were just like not working anymore. So I was like, hell, I might as well try this whole therapy thing. And luckily it was free, luckily it existed. Like I still don't understand why it did, like, cause I'm from Georgia and it just seems like there's not a lot of, I don't know, just opportunities in general here in the part of Georgia I'm in. So yeah, I don't know, I'm still amazed that I even like found this whole thing, that it existed. So therapy became kind of like this substitute for my art making. But it was kind of different too, because it was a way that I could connect with people. Because like one-on-one, I was kind of better at talking to people. But when it came to like groups, I was like, nah, I can't be doing all that. Like, I don't know how to talk to you. Like, this is too much anxiety, I can't handle it. So like the therapy room was kind of like just small. I just had like me and my little therapist. Sometimes it was 2, sometimes it was 1, because I went like multiple times. I can't remember, I think it was like 3 or 4 times, like in a span of a couple years or so. So that felt doable, and it was cool because I could actually like have attention. Like, it sounds horrible, like I just needed the attention, but like, I don't know, if you feel like you've never really been heard before and you just always been there for other people, it's nice to kind of like change the scenery a little bit, you know, have somebody there for you. So that was cool. And I don't know, like I would just talk about my issues, and they would have a way, like the therapist would have a way of just like asking me certain questions that made me think differently. And I didn't know really what to expect for therapy, because like you only know what you see on movies and shows and stuff like that. So I wasn't really, I was just planning on them telling me like, you're sick, you gotta fix this or something like that. But I mean, they never really gave me a diagnosis or anything. Like they just talked to me, which was pretty much what I needed, like just somebody to listen, and like a space to just like vent my struggles and think about them in like a different way. I felt like that helped me by giving me like a different perspective. I kept the janitor job for about a year a year and a half or something. I don't know the exact time frame. A girl that I went to art school with, she was working at a screen print shop in another city, and she was leaving. So she called me and was like, yo, you want this job? I was like, yeah, I want this job. Like, it's art related. Like, it's at least like something, you know. It made me feel like, well, maybe there's hope. Like, if I'm doing something related to art, I'll feel a little bit less like dead inside. So ended up taking that, but then like the only thing was it was like minimum wage. So that was like $7.25, or no, it was above, it was $7.50. So that was good, like better than minimum wage. But it just felt really like, I didn't feel valued, and I just didn't feel like I was in a place where I could really like express myself still, because I was making other people's designs and just like printing all this sports related stuff. Like, sorry, I'm not trying to insult nobody's love of sports, but I'm just not a sports kind of person. So it was just boring to me, like always printing football logos and stuff like that. So that just felt like a step, like it was supposed to be a step in the right direction, but it just still, my soul was like just crying inside, you know, like I just wasn't feeling it. I don't think I was still in therapy at that point, because the therapists eventually graduate, and then you have the option of either like transitioning to new therapists or just like stopping completely. And I think at that time I was kind of in a better place. And so I just didn't feel like going through the process of getting new therapists and having to like explain all my life again. But I mean, at this new job, I just kind of reached a point where I was just like, I need to talk to somebody again, because I'm not feeling my best here. So I went back to therapy at that same place. I was all kind of like giving up on my art and all that, but like secretly I still wanted to be an artist, and I wanted to kind of do something like online, like sell my stuff online, because I felt like there was something there, like there was something in that. Like I didn't know about it, but I was like, if I can't make this work locally, then I know the internet's a thing and I can do this. So I eventually quit that job as a screen printer, and luckily my boyfriend was like, yo, you can quit and try to pursue this whole online thing. But I mean, I wasn't very like realistic with it at the time. And then I made a Patreon and didn't advertise it to anybody. And then I would just sit there and use that. Like when nobody donated, I would use that as like evidence that I failed. When really it was just like a matter of me not having an audience and having like a reach yet. So I was just kind of like trying to self-sabotage or something. But I really had some stuff to work out about like feeling competent and all that. So it was just not, I don't think it was the right time yet. We're good, but I wasn't able to follow through with them at the time because I still had like some mood stuff to work out and just some like shadowy aspects with my psyche, you know. I was just really struggling to find like meaning in life at the time. It just felt like everything that I knew kind of fell apart, and I just needed something. I was just searching for something that I wasn't finding. And so while I was in therapy, I kind of just had this idea, like, well, what if I became a therapist? And I was kind of just like, well, that's not realistic. Like, you don't even know how to talk to people. You can't even get a job. Like, why would you even consider that option? Like, you haven't even made it with your art. Like, what makes you think that you could be a therapist? And so, I don't know, I was like bringing that up to my therapist in a session one day. And they were just kind of like, well, technically you could apply to the program. Because I was thinking, well, I gotta have like a background in psychology or something like that. Like, I can't just go in with an art degree. I'd have to get another degree, like an undergrad degree. So I was just kind of like not even taking it seriously. But then another cool thing, this is kind of side note, but it ties in. Like, another cool thing about that program is they have like teams of therapists, and they have like one-way mirrors. So you can like sit behind the mirror, or you can have like a team of therapists and a supervisor sit behind the mirror and like watch the session. Which just sounds kind of creepy, but like it was cool for me because like I needed all the help I could get. So I was like, give me more people, like, and we'll do this thing. So yeah, the supervisor was in there during that session, and like she came in and was telling me, she was like, well, technically you could apply because you don't have to have like psychology is not a prerequisite or whatever. You could come with your art degree. So I was like, what? Like, really? Like, is this really an option? So that's when I really started to kind of like entertain the possibility a little more. Like I was just kind of talking, you know, just because it was an idea. Like I wanted to think, well, maybe I could do that. But then when it became more real, I was like, whoa, like this actually could happen. So what do I want to do about this now? So yeah, that led into me actually applying to the program. And it was just kind of like a spur of the moment thing. I kind of just went with it. Like it felt like the right move. And I don't know if it was just because like school was like my comfort zone and what I knew. But I don't think it was all that. Like there was more to it than just that. I mean, I'll admit that was a role, or that played a role. Like I was like, if I can just get back into school, I'll feel like some normalcy again. And some familiarity. Like that's where I'll find like some comfort. I knew in art school I'd always like shared my art with the intention of kind of like connecting with people and just hoping that by sharing maybe like the not so great parts of my childhood that like I could kind of like reach the people that maybe were having a similar experience. Because I mean, as far as I knew, nobody, I mean I didn't really talk to anybody anyway, but nobody really talked about that kind of stuff back then. I mean, it was just, I mean, it still kind of is shameful. I guess there's still like a stigma around like talking about your problems, but I don't know, like I was sending out my little beacon. I was like, yo, other people like me, I'm out here, like please find me, like here's my contribution to you. So I don't know, like I always try to do that with my art to kind of like help people. So I was like, well, maybe therapy is a good idea because that will help me work on my actual like communication skills. And I was like, it makes no sense. Like there's no reason that I should be able to do this because I suck at communicating, but it makes complete sense for me to like do this thing to tackle this like huge fear that I have of communicating and connecting with people. So it was like a terrifyingly good move, I felt. And I had no clue if I could do it or not. So with my background of having like a chaotic family, I was like, maybe this is my gateway into finding people like me, helping them, kind of using my past to like help other people and all that. I just always had this like instinctive feeling that I should do something with my life that was meaningful and mattered, like in order to deserve to be here. And I feel like I kind of have more of an understanding around why that is now. But I mean, that's too long to be going into in this video and I ain't even on topic, so we're gonna move on. But I don't know, like I needed something to where I was helping people. Like I just knew that needed to be a part of my life. So therapy looked like a good way to get there. So in 2017, I went back to school for my marriage and family therapy degree. And it wasn't anything like I expected. Like it wasn't traditional psychology or any of that. And I'll have to do another video on like more about what it actually was, because I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions around like different kinds of therapy. I didn't even know like the difference when I started. I won't really claim to have everything figured out now, like after it all, because I mean, it's 2020. I've graduated, like I just graduated. It was a 2-year program, but I took 3 just because I can and I needed extra time, and it's all right because we all at different paces. I still don't have it all figured out, but in hindsight, I do realize that this whole period was helpful to me. Yeah, even though it was like really painful in the process and it kind of felt like it was horrible in all the moments where I was just miserable. Like I kind of don't regret it now. Like I just see where so many other things kind of came from me feeling like I lost my art, and I don't know, like I never would have went to therapy if I hadn't been going through a crisis, and I never would have discovered tarot and oracle cards or magic or started video journaling, which eventually led me to like making videos now. I'm just trying to make this to inspire hope in somebody out there. Like maybe if you're feeling like you're just never gonna get out of your rut, if you just feel like you don't know where you are right now, I mean, it eventually passes. Like, I'm not saying it's gonna be comfortable like during the crisis or whatever, like whatever, however you want to label it. Like, I just think that we go through things that we don't understand while we're in them, but then like afterwards it's kind of like the clarity comes and you're like, well, that's why I had to go through that. So yeah, I mean, I kind of just generalized the whole story. Like, I didn't want to just kind of like give every little detail and bore people. But just wanted to put this out there and be like, yo, I see you, I've been there. I mean, not exactly there, because we all on different, like, you know, I ain't you, so I ain't been there. But I've been in a similar situation, like, if you can relate to me. So, I don't know. Just saying I'm out here. Anybody need to talk, hit me up in the comments. If anything I said kind of like brought something up for you, like, and you want to talk about it, that's what I'm here for. So I want to know, like, if you've ever had an experience where you felt like things were just like not working out and you were just like, this is not what I want. Like, this is not what I wanted my life to be. And then like you kind of just took a turn towards something that maybe you needed but didn't necessarily want. I think that's kind of what happened with me in my art. Like, I didn't really want to give it up, but I kind of needed to, because it was stopping me from actually connecting with people on like other levels. I mean, not saying it was wrong. Like, I think we do what we need and what works in the moment. But I mean, eventually, sometimes we gotta grow a little bit. So yeah, just wondering about your life, your experience. Like, what's happened with you? Like, what's happening, man? What's happening with you? Like, let me know. Like I said, there's a lot more I could go into, and I plan on it. So I don't know, stay tuned if you want to hear about like maybe my therapy experience, like as a client, and then also if you're interested in like my therapy training, or any of the other topics I mentioned, like oracle or tarot, magic. I don't know, anything you feel like you want to hear about, just let me know that too. So yeah, thanks for listening and thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.